Get off my property before I call the cops. That's what she screamed at me, right there on the dirt drive of land I'd just bought fair and square. Deed still crisp in my pocket, $500,000 in title coverage behind it. Not a loose thread on the paperwork. I'd done everything by the book. But none of that seemed to matter to Brenda Sutton, who, apparently, thought possession was 9/10 of the law if you just said it loud enough. You want to know what happens when someone tries to steal your property? Like, actually tries to lay claim to the ground beneath your feet? Well, buckle up, because this was about to get messy. I'm Ethan Caldwell, civil engineer by trade, maybe a little stubborn by birth, and the unlucky new owner of a 120-year-old farmhouse just outside the grasp of the local HOA, snagged through a county tax auction after a lifetime of city work left me itching for something real. A legacy. A project I could pour my soul into. Second week of May, 2024, I'm out there with a survey crew staking the 4.2 acres I'd just bought, making sure the boundaries were locked tight. No surprises, right? Wrong. Before we even finish the third stake, a white Lexus comes barreling down my gravel drive, dust flying, music thumping. Out steps Brenda, blonde highlights, sunglasses, the whole yoga mom uniform, and a shirt that screamed Heritage Preservation Coalition, which I guess is what you call yourself when you want to look official while making other people's business your own. Her husband, Craig, tags along behind, hands jammed in his pockets, carrying a crowbar like he's auditioning for a bad crime drama. They didn't say hello. They didn't ask who I was. They just started yelling, pointing at my survey crew, demanding we stop immediately. Brenda insisted the western portion, about 1.3 acres, belonged to the community, to her family, to anyone but me. When I asked for proof, she just waved her phone around, filming and narrating for Facebook about how I was trespassing on sacred community space. You know what I mean? The entitlement was next level. I calmly told her I had the deed, the title, everything recorded with the county, all above board. She scoffed, said paperwork didn't mean a thing compared to heritage. Right then, the local deputy sheriff pulls up. Name tag says Hackett, but the vibe said Brenda's friend. He barely glances my way, walks straight over to Brenda and Craig, shakes hands like they're at a backyard barbecue, and then tells me to stop all work while they sort it out. Never even looks at my paperwork. Tells me to play nice. Threatens that things could get unpleasant if I don't cooperate. Thinly veiled, but I got the message. So I told my crew to pack up. Brenda's grinning like the cat that got the cream. The community will be watching, she says, and they peel out, Hackett shooting me one last stay-in-line look. I'm standing alone in the driveway, looking at those survey stakes, bright orange, clear as daylight, and realize I'm in for a real fight. But let me back up a sec, because you have to understand, I didn't just stumble into this. I'd spent months digging through property records, tracing ownership back a century, buying title insurance, triple-checking surveys, making sure no ghosts were lurking in the chain of title. The house was a beauty under the grime. Original oak floors, wraparound porch sagging a little but strong, the kind of place you could feel history pulsing under your boots. The previous owner, Mrs. Mercer, died without heirs. County took it for taxes, and the auction was small time. I got it for $127,500 after a bit of back and forth, deeded and filed, no red flags. And yeah, there were whispers. The old guy at the hardware store, Grayson, warned me, the Suttons think that land's theirs. I laughed it off at the time. I shouldn't have. 3 days after the survey showdown, I get a cease and desist letter from the Heritage Preservation Coalition, legal threats about adverse possession, prescriptive easement, all the buzzwords you'd pull off a late-night Google search. My attorney, Rebecca Hayes, took one look and told me their claim was nonsense. No taxes paid, no legal standing, nothing but hot air and attitude. But that didn't slow Brenda down. Suddenly, Hackett's calling again, saying Brenda's filed more complaints. Every time I tried to so much as measure the porch, someone was watching, snapping photos, spreading rumors online. One morning, my phone blows up with texts, friends, family, even my sister, asking if I'm the out-of-town developer destroying local heritage. Turns out Brenda had posted a viral screed online, painting me as the villain and herself as the last line of defense against the greedy outsider. The community meeting she called was a circus. She had slideshows, handouts, a budget for her coalition, the whole performance. But when it was my turn, I stood up and laid out the facts, ownership records, tax receipts, surveys, all neat and tidy. When someone asked Brenda for proof, she could only mutter about tradition and doing the right thing. It was clear who had the receipts and who just had a story. But here's the twist. You want to talk about plot twists? Turns out, Brenda hadn't maintained anything. I went out and checked the community garden myself. Nothing but weeds and rotting boards. 8 raised beds abandoned years ago. No irrigation, no fresh dirt. Nothing living but a few tenacious dandelions. Utility records showed no active water or power since Mrs. Mercer died. Surveillance footage from Grayson's store caught Brenda's Lexus lurking near the property twice in 6 months. Always quick stops, taking pictures, never staying to care for anything. And then I found the smoking gun, a hardware store receipt in Brenda's name from 2017 for lumber and soil, delivered to the farmstead. Mrs. Mercer was still alive back then, never gave permission, and there wasn't a soul to say otherwise. Just like that, the heritage argument crumbled. Then, when I thought it couldn't get more brazen, I caught them on camera at 2 in the morning, pulling up my survey stakes with a crowbar. Brenda and Craig, caught red-handed, voices and all, talking about proving their claim. I backed up the footage 6 ways to Sunday, handed it to Rebecca, and let the system do its thing. Rebecca filed suit, quiet title action, request for declaratory relief, the works. We got the county surveyor out, who confirmed not only the boundaries, but also that someone had tampered with the original iron markers. That's a crime, by the way. Brenda's countersuit was just more bluster. No evidence, just noise to slow things down. And then it got ugly. Someone vandalized my stable. Thief, sprayed in red paint. Boards smashed in. But my cameras caught everything. Every late-night visit. Every act of trespass. When the legal battle finally hit the courtroom, it was no contest. The video footage broke the case wide open. Brenda tried to bluff her way through a county board hearing, but under questioning, she admitted she'd moved the markers because she knew the boundaries were wrong. That was it. The mask slipped. Judge ruled in my favor, unequivocally. Quiet title to me, no rights for the Suttons, restraining order against Brenda and Craig, and a judgment covering damages, survey costs, a chunk of my legal fees. The DA pressed charges for vandalism and tampering. Brenda took a plea, got probation, 200 hours community service, fines, and had to publish a public apology. Craig got off lighter, community service, and a fine. Hackett, internal investigation, reassigned, and I hear he got his wrist slapped for cozying up to the wrong side. You might think the story ends there, but you'd be wrong. The Heritage Preservation Coalition folded, their fundraising account shuttered, Brenda's reputation in tatters. People who'd backed her publicly came to me, apologized for believing lies. And you know what? I didn't hold it against them. People want to believe they're defending something noble. I finally got to work restoring the farmhouse, every beam, every floorboard. I put everything I had into honoring the place's past, hosted an open house, invited the town, even those who doubted me. The outpouring of support was real this time. Grayson brought me an old photo from the 50s of the farmhouse in its glory days. His wife even helped me start a heritage garden where the community beds had been, planting native flowers and vegetables, turning the scar of conflict into something new and beautiful. And the funny thing? Some of Brenda's former supporters showed up to help, too. Maybe that's the silver lining. Sometimes conflict forces people to reckon with the truth, to choose real community over loud claims and half-baked crusades. We started monthly workshops, woodworking, gardening, preservation. Anyone welcome, no secret agendas, no claims of ownership, just neighbors coming together. Sitting on the porch one quiet May evening, coffee in hand, I thought about everyone who'd come before. Mrs. Thornton, who built the place as a young widow. The Kellers who planted the oaks. Mrs. Mercer, who lived out her last years watching the place fade. I thought about how close this house came to disappearing, about how easy it is for history to get trampled by ego or erased by neglect. Property, you see, is just a lease from time. We don't own these places. We just keep them safe for the next hands. That's what stewardship is. Respect, care, the humility to know when to fight and when to share. Brenda thought love for a place meant ownership. But real love means doing the hard work, respecting boundaries, and letting go when it's not yours. So if you ever find yourself in my shoes, someone gunning for what's yours, twisting stories, calling in favors. Don't back down. Document everything. Get a good lawyer. Stay cool, even when you want to explode. Trust the process. And remember, being right won't make the fight easy, but it'll make it worth it. This farmhouse, it'll outlast me. It belongs to everyone who cares enough to keep it standing. I'm just the caretaker who happened to be here when it needed saving. And I'd do it all again, because some fights are worth it, not for money or pride, but because they tie us to something bigger than ourselves. If you stuck around for this whole wild ride, thanks for listening. Tell me, have you ever had to stand up for what's legally yours? How'd you handle it? Drop a comment, share your story. Let's see whose definition of justice really holds up when the dust settles.